Okay, it is, good morning, everybody. It is June 3rd, 2026, and it's our official first meeting between Lake County Schools and LCEA for bargaining for the school year 2026-2027. Brand new school year, so good morning, everybody again. And I would like to start with a couple of introductions because I need to make sure everybody knows. To my right, I have Sarah Jowers. She will be my new administrative assistant and that just started with me. Because as you may know, Jessica Marshall is not only here training her, but she's also in training, moving to be the clerk to the board for starting the next school year.
Apologies, sir.
So you'll see her on and off with me, and Sarah will be my new administrative assistant. And to the team, you know some of the principals here already, and but I will let them introduce. Kiana, if you can start with your name, just for the new members, to make sure that they know who's here.
Kiana Peterson, Director of HR. Diane Blyer, Unifor Elementary.
Kirsten Olafson, Director of Compensation and Employee Relations.
Harry Sears, House Bank. I'm Bobby Blajo, at the school principal.
I'm Stephanie Conkle with the Florida Education Association.
Jessica Swickey, Vice President of LCA. Elizabeth Emery, President of LCEA. Patrick Kelly, Leesburg High School.
And I'm Val Smith with NEPIA.
Okay, and I'm Mr. Zamora I'm the Assistant Superintendent of HR. To my left, I have
Scott Ward, Chief Financial Officer.
I have my bank to my left. So, glad that we're all here. Obviously, you have more members in your team that are not here today, just like me. And I don't have all the principals that typically will be here, but we can do those introductions next time. Okay? So with that said, one of the things that you wanted to, when we started, was we typically start with like a budget type overview on things. That's why Mr. Ward's here, so I will. Okay, unless you want something.
I just think we can get the agenda up, please.
Oh, yes, please, I apologize. Rookie mistake. Just-
What, I don't think we, ours are in there.
While that's going on, I just want to say I appreciate you, Scott, for being here today to present to us. I wasn't sure, I wasn't expecting it, so I'm glad to see that you're here. I know the budget has just been finalized, so I'm sure you spent some late nights and days working on this, so I appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
Okay. We good, Jessica, we good? All right. Mr. Ward, I'll defer to you.
Okay, so, real quick, not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but this is, our conference report. It was voted on and approved last week, by the legislators. There was a lot of language too that's gonna impact this, so we'll talk a little bit about that also. But here is our Calc 4, which we just got a couple of weeks ago. Here is our conference report. Our conference report is showing an increase in students, but the district is still showing a projected decline. It's very slight, which is good news. We did not, our number of students did not drop as much as projected this last year. I did kind of a deep dive looking at what our students are doing and where they're going. And the level of students who are leaving the district to go to scholarships has slowed down. So we're not in what I would consider a growth pattern, but we're flat. We're not bleeding out students like a lot of our neighbors are in other parts of the state. So that's good news. Right now, the estimated school taxable value is $52.7 billion. That has not been finalized yet. They're struggling to get that finalized, but I'm sure they'll get it by the first. They do a really good job at our property appraiser's office of getting that stuff. I'm just going to keep moving this because if not, it'll blank out on me. The legislators right now lowered our millage rate for required local effort, in part of that continuation of reducing our property tax burden on our property owners, slightly down, was 3.8 last year and it's 3.796. That will change on Calc 2 once they figure out the exact correct amount on the property values. So the BSA actually does show an increase to $5,457. I think it's about a 1.2%-ish. And I'm sorry, I usually have that late on the side, but I didn't have it on this one. So our base funding is definitely going up district-wide when you include charters and FBS. Not a lot of changes. Well, wait a minute, I lost that. Not a lot of changes in our categorical funding. As you go down, Safe Schools is almost exactly the same. Education enrichment's very similar. The state did not, the legislators did not add any funding in any of these categories here. There was a couple of proposals. They were going to increase Safe Schools, but they were going to also increase the requirements on us, which would have cost us more than what they gave us. So luckily that didn't go through. You will see an increase in ESC guaranteed allocation. But that was a little bit of money that they added per student, but we also have an increase in that concentration projected for next year. So it's going to show up. We're going to watch that to make sure that we are actually getting those students that they're projecting to bring in. Again, transportation not looking great in the academic acceleration options. You'll notice that's exactly the same number as the current year. That will go down as more people earn those points. That funding per student will go down. So total FEFP, and you can see FES scholarships are projected to go up another 12 million between now and next year. I don't quite expect that to happen, but we'll see. State funded discretionary, that's just the state offsetting some of that cost. We had a prior year adjustment, which was a positive for us. They gave us back $700,000. So the adjusted net FEFP is actually down for us when you consider FES in the mix. So when you look at that, this is the total funding per student unweighted. So it's actually going up when you combine all of the categoricals and regular funding. Right now, Calc 4, we are at 36,356 students district. That's us, not charters, and not FES, but it's our traditional schools and our virtual school that we have. That number is projected to decline. I don't expect that. This upcoming year, I expect it to be flat, but understand I have to budget what they give me. I can't say, well, I think we're going to be higher and increase our revenue for that. I'm not legally allowed to do that. So we have to go with that budget. So when you look at that 35,000 multiplied by the funding per student, you can see between that year, current year and next year, we're down $2.1 million in funding. Decrease. And then the TSIA, and I'll go over that calculation in just a second. The TSIA is $2.1 million. So that's restricted. So we have to do that. We have to bargain that. There's some new rules about that too. And then so far we know that we have a $3.7 million increase in our health insurance contribution for next year for the plan. So you can see we're already starting with some difficulty here. We've looked at our staffing, we've looked at our, our employees and stuff, and to mitigate against some of that loss. But we still have a big gap to jump for that. We're still looking at current year. I know it's June, but we still have a lot of activity going on. In June, we have a lot of in-year adjustments. whatever our health insurance fund is negative, we're gonna have to take out of the general fund and move over there. We won't get a real good picture of that until probably mid to late July. So that is our wonderful funding news. As per usual. I did take the unweighted FTE for the district in the projection. And I calculated the weighted. You can ignore the taxable value stuff, but I multiplied it by the base student allocation to come up with the district's portion of base funding. And then I multiplied that by the 1.06, which was the language for the, I can still call it TSIA, but I don't want to call it that anymore. And that's how I calculated the $2.1 million for TSIA. So I know that you guys wanted to talk a little bit about village
Yes.
in the future, and we'll cover that in just a second, but I just wanted to real quick. Let's see, where is that? One. Again, they got completely sideways on language again. And they were trying to do something. I don't know exactly if they're gonna accomplish what they wanted to do, but they were trying to concentrate more on the teachers who have more experience. So the TSIA now is restricted to, first and foremost, provide salary increases, full-time classroom teachers, and certified pre-kindergarten funded through FEFP with at least 10 years of full-time teaching experience in Florida. So not necessarily our district, but somewhere in Florida. And we have to go up to $3,000. So take the funding, divide it up by the number of teachers that meet that requirement. And real quick raw numbers, just basic estimates, we're not gonna get to 3,000. But it'll tie up all of our TSIA for that purpose, so there won't be, I'm guessing right now, there won't be any TSIA money for anybody else other than these people listed right now.
So is the district, I mean, I don't know, this just came out, right? So I don't know if
Sure,
y'all have had
sure.
time to really interpret the language, but I don't know if now's the time to ask for clarification, because I'm a little. I have wonderings, because it sounds like from what you just said, that the interpretation is that we have to go as close to 3,000 as possible, the TSIA.
And you have to go to 3,000 per teacher. And then if you have anything left over, then you can distribute it in other
But it doesn't
TSIA.
say you have to go to 3,000.
No, it
says
says
it
may not exceed.
Right.
No, because some districts may have less teachers, because part of it is classroom, I have to go differentiate on job codes, who's classified as a classroom teacher,
Right,
who has experience as 10 years only in Florida public.
right.
So once I get to that amount, then I take the total 2.1 and divide it to see what it would look like if we were to do it different scenarios, but it cannot exceed 3,000 per
okay,
teacher.
okay.
That's all it is.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
No, we're in the same page. It's not saying we're gonna get 3, we're just gonna say it cannot exceed that, that's all.
So my understanding,
So you know who is.
Well, I gave her a roster of all teachers.
Yes,
There's only one caveat. When I was looking at this, they're saying classroom teachers, so I have to go down and drill to the job code and figure out which ones are considered classroom teachers, because not every job code is considered a classroom teachers. So program specialists would be one that are not
Right.
considered. So we have, just to give you an example,
Is the district does track the years of teaching.
we have that as long as,
Florida versus outside of Florida.
correct, as long as the teacher has submitted the verification of employment from other districts, we calculate that and put it in Skyward as a record. And I have provided Elizabeth with all the experience so far we have documented based on what teachers have submitted.
right, and we did look review that, so thank you,
So-
that was very helpful.
Correct, so just to let you know, the only part you don't know is that which job codes are the ones that are classroom, which I have to drill down to that. It might not be that much of a difference, but there's some that I have to get
Some
with you.
variance from what we saw.
Correct. Very meaning I have to flag the ones that are classroom.
Okay.
Okay? Because I gotta go to a different source code for that.
so So I can read that two different ways. I can read that and say, we gotta give them a raise. And then we can pick where we want to and stop. And then give the rest of it out, which means you really don't have to give them any more or less than anybody else. I don't think that was the intention. But again, they probably didn't write it well enough to.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I apologize, because I had several conversations with Senate staffers while they were
I see, yeah.
mulling through this. And because it was worse than that.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry.
That's
forgive me,
okay. Go ahead.
I lobby,
Sure.
in Tallahassee, so we were doing the same thing while this was happening in real time, and 100% agree with you. The House's original proposal was 20 years. And the Senate pulled it back and agreed, compromise to 10, but they also made it very clear that it's a guidance, not an absolute. So unlike in 2014, when Rick Scott demanded that the money, the 400 million had to be paid in the exact amount that it was written in the proviso, the Senate staff made it very clear that in their compromise, Senate staff and Senator Cooper himself, the budget chairman, made it very clear that this was guidance. Districts can do this, but the intent was that it would be no more than 3,000, so that money could be spread
Correct.
across the board. So I did want to
Okay.
offer that.
No, good. I mean, that makes our jobs easy.
Easier.
That
It would make our
absolutely-
jobs easier.
Yeah, I'm with you on
It
that.
makes y'all's job easy. Mine too.
How to cost more people.
Correct, correct.
Yes.
Because the way as it's written, if I were to follow that as written, it's pretty much, if you look at the file, it's pretty much maybe a little bit of even under a third of the bargaining unit.
Yeah.
So
My other calculation was like 42%, but
I went further
Yeah.
because I go and drill down to the not reappointed, like actual staff that I have on file moving forward.
okay.
So it's kind of. It only addresses 1/3 of the bargaining unit, in my opinion, so I'm agreeing with you.
It's like A, and then notwithstanding A, you have B, and I'm just like, can we just start making this plain language, folks, like.
Or just let us do our job.
Right,
Right.
Correct.
That would be the best part, to be honest with you, but, you know.
Now, I don't have the implementation language up, but are you aware that they actually do something in the implementation language that says that you don't have to do performance
Yes,
pay?
you're welcome.
Yes.
Well, that was actually my direct comment. You can't do this because we can't afford the performance. I was talking with Tim Elwell, explaining it to him that you can't do this because we'll need $8 or $9 more million because of that. So, yeah, it finally got away,
Right.
which is good.
Well, and it was our understanding based on conversations with staff that performance that's not just reflective of TSIA, but that's your overall salary schedule based off of the entire amount that's provided between combination of BSA and the classroom teacher and other instructional personnel categorical, which is the new name, so.
Okay. So that's where you're at, and I'm sure that you are also aware of, now there's a new timeline on that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say that, so. You and I have to come we have to come into an agreement
Pretty
within
quickly.
pretty quickly
Yes.
after July 1st starts the clock.
Yes.
Now, I've also heard that you just have to come to an agreement.
Right.
Correct.
So it's not that you have to sign the contract and now we've got to move forward with.
There would be no way to do that.
Well, they want the way that I understand it, and maybe God has heard it different, is we have to treat it separate, like we do typically, like an MOU.
Right.
And ratify it separate, so that way, but and that's something that I'm still reading through it, so just,
Okay.
I wanna-
It's just a signed agreement.
okay, and that's what we've done that already in the past. So,
And our intent is to do everything we can to meet that deadline.
okay,
So,
no, and that's what we want,
That's why we're glad we got to meet today, because I think
Mm-hmm.
officially we're having a conversation. We can say that we met at least the July 15th goal.
correct,
You have to have your first meeting to talk about it by July
Correct.
15th. So I feel like we've kind of met that goal already. And if we can get the MOU on the referendum kind of secured by July 15th, then we can just shift all our focus to getting the TSIA done. Have it signed by July 30th and then move on. Or before July 30th. June 15th, I'm sorry. We would like to get the MOU for the referendum done by June 15th.
that's fine, we can discuss your proposal, and then I will have to bring it to the board.
Right.
Because it's something that I have to bring to them.
Yeah.
Fine.
But our ultimate goal is, and Stephanie can talk about this a little bit more, is to get that done sooner rather than later for messaging. Because Sherry Owens needs to work on a messaging campaign. And we have a training on the referendum June 29th. And one of the main things that people ask is how will teachers benefit from the referendum? So I don't know, want to add to that.
Yeah, and so our intention is, if we could at least get some agreement between how the money is going to be allocated, that will allow for, so the two biggest questions that we get asked all the time, we go out into the field. And I do this from Pensacola to the Keys. The two biggest questions that get asked is, how much is this gonna cost me and how much will teachers make? And so we need to be able to answer those two questions. And then obviously now the third question, thanks to the property tax referendum, is what does the property tax referendum mean as a result of, or what will the village mean as a result of the property tax changes? So when we're doing trainings for our folks to be able to go out into the community to message this, as well as internally with your employees, we need to be able to answer those two basic questions. This is how much you'll pay, this is how much you'll stand to make based off of years of service, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's why we're trying to have at least that portion finalized no later than June 15th, so that it allows for us to build the training materials and allows for Sherry the time to start working with us for your overall flyers, your website design, and get prepared for that back to school time until the October ballot is out.
I understand the intent. I have to see how I can meet the June 15th
I hear you.
deadline that you would like for me to meet. So, because I have to take that to the board, discuss it, obviously with the superintendent and everybody in senior staff, and then go from there. I understand. Okay. Do you have any other questions regarding this? Because at some point, this is the initial talk, we'll have an MOU that we have to address TSI, but
Right.
obviously you want to address referendum, so.
All right, you want a quick draft of some amounts?
Sure.
Okay. Quick draft.
We do have a question too when you're done with that.
Okay. So what I did was I took the property value, divided by 1,000 for a mill, so it's $52 million. Okay. And actually, I've got to do this by, we're only allowed to do 96%. So it'll be 96% of that. Let's see.
When you say 96%, is that because of the charter proportional share, or is that because of the commission?
No, either. We're only allowed to budget 96%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Understood. All right, so that's 96%. You're only allowed to levy 96% when you do your budget. That's the commission for the tax collector. This is the total coming to the district with charter schools. This is the district's portion. So dividing it out by unweighted FTE, that's the district's portion, 39,000.
And then,
39 million, sorry, thank you. And then 25% of that is the 9,751,000. Now, that's very raw data. That's not a certified amount. The property values are going to change. That's, a long ways off. So, but that kind of gives you an idea of what 25% would look like.
Thank you.
Okay.
We did have a question, if you could go back to the portion where it talks about the district received some money back.
Yeah, we have a prior year adjustment of 500,000 there. And then we have a $721,000 adjustment for FBS.
So what do you do with those adjustments when you receive them? Do you?
Plug the hole.
Okay.
because we're.
Remember, we were declining in fund balance, so we're hoping to be flat.
So theoretically, that could help address like the health insurance things like that.
Yeah. They're just locals.
Y'all have any other questions? Are you gonna stick around for a little bit, or?
You want me to?
Yeah,
Okay,
well, we'll do the referendum piece, and obviously that might apply to you
Sure.
anyways,
yeah, so,
and then if anything else comes up,
Okay,
ask, so thank you. Okay, you ready?
alright, yeah,
All right, Jessica has mine, she's gonna pass out, and then what's the, will you also take on this? I only have 4 copies of this, so, no, I don't. So if you'll just make sure, what, feel me to make a copy? You can.
if you can give one to Scott, so he can look at it.
I know Jessica's making copies of the colored sheet, which is some of our survey data. So while she's doing that, I'll just kind of talk about kind of the background and how we came about with this language. So when we first approached the superintendent about the idea of adding the 0.25 millage to the safety and security referendum, it was with the intent that it was to help recruit and retain our educators, our instructional staff, as well as other employees in the district, because we recognize the true collaboration and the nature of running a school district requires every single employee in the district. So that was our initial intent, was to ensure that this millage was spread amongst everyone in the district. When conversations were had with the school board, as well as district leadership, it looked like there was some shifting and some changes about the direction of the millage, and that the focus was really gonna be more on instructional employees, which, as you know, we represent instructional employees. So we are gonna do whatever we can to help support those educators in our district. But we do also still recognize that there is value, and it is important to recognize every single employee in the district. So we also surveyed our members, and so that's the colored sheet that Jessica has. With in mind, those conversations that we're having with the district about an alternative option, if we are not gonna do a salary supplement for all employees, that we would at least come up with the option that would benefit all employees in the district. So we asked 2 questions. There were almost 500 responses on the survey. The first question was, how would you like the funds distributed amongst the instructional staff? So do you want to see an equal distribution where all instructional staff receives the same amount? Or do you want to see a distribution based on years of experience? And you can see that 68% of the respondents said they would like the distribution based on years of experience. And we can probably imagine why, right? Because of years and years of the legislature not appropriately allowing us to compensate educators for years of experience. And then the second question we asked, okay, should we try to divide the funds up among instructional and other in the district, where 80% went to instructional and 20% went to other employees, or an alternative option, which is 80% of the funds go to instructional for salary supplements, and then 20% go to healthcare benefits for all employees. And you can see there that 67% said for the healthcare benefit, 80-20 split. So you'll see that both of these pieces in the proposal that we're gonna present today, where it's based off years of experience, and then 80% of the funds are for a salary supplement, and then 20% of the funds are to address healthcare benefits for all employees of the district. So the intent is that we all benefit while still also meeting the goals of the salary supplement. So with that said, I can then transition to the actual document. So we can look at the language. We kept the initial start of all our MOUs. I think that's the same that.
The standard one,
And then we've added some of the pieces that are specific to the millage, so that it will be on the 2026 general ballot. That it will be used towards the additional revenue will be used towards employee compensation from January 1st, 2027, continuing to July 30th, 2031. That this agreement shall not take place of regular annual salary negotiations. That it will become effective upon ratification by both parties and shall remain in full effect until July 30th, 2031, unless modified by written mutual agreement. And then down below, you're gonna see the provisions that we discussed before. So that 0.75 of the millage revenue will still be allotted to Lake County Schools for the safety and security as the previous millage has been. And then the 0.25 millage will be allotted for compensation of employees. And then you'll see number 2 there says the 80% of the 0.25 millage will be for salary supplemental pay to instructional employees, and then the remaining 20% shall be allotted to all Lake County School employee healthcare benefits to be discussed and recommended by the Joint Insurance Committee. I think it should say Joint Insurance Advisory Committee, but I think y'all understand what we're saying here. And that if the school board decides not to use that 20% allotment for insurance, that we will meet again to decide how to distribute that remaining 20%. And then for number 3, it says of the percentage identified for salary supplements, so that 80%, each Lake County School instructional bargaining unit employees shall receive no less than $500 as an additional supplement to their annual salary. So that's kind of the base benchmark that we're hoping to shoot for. And that the annual supplement will be paid during the following school years, so 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29, 29 to 30, and then 30 to 31, and we'll explain how in the next section. And the payment will be supplement to the employee's base pay, so it'll be treated as salary. If we go to the next page, we have that the salary supplement shall be FRS eligible for every employee. And the salary supplement will be paid out in 2 payments a year. So during the initial implementation year, the first payment will be paid out in January. So I believe the intent was January 2027, and then the second payment by June, so the end of the school year. And then every year after, the payment will be paid out in December and June. And that payment will be clearly identified on the employee's pay stub. Number 4 talks about
All right.
that.
I had a question
Go ahead.
before you move on. You didn't address employees that resigned between dates. So,
That's later.
okay,
So, for 4, the appropriate portion of funds shall be held to cover costs associated with fringe. And the remaining funds shall be paid to employees within the instructional bargaining unit in the referendum salary supplement calculated as follows. So we do have some information here that probably eventually would be in an appendix of this MOU, because it may change from year to year, depending upon the amounts and what we decide at the bargaining table. But this gives you at least a draft or a rough start for the upcoming school year. So it would be based off years of service, and you would identify the number of instructional employees in each total instructional experience band to include the most recent year of experience prior to the school year. And I have the asterisk here, see sample calculation on a separate Excel sheet. So you'll see basically the breakdown of years and the supplemental factors and what it could look like cost wise on that separate sheet. So I'm gonna now defer to Jessica to kind of explain the calculation, and then Patrick ran the numbers for us, so he'll speak to the separate Excel sheet.
So we used the spreadsheet you gave us and, figured out the number of employees for each band. And then what we did was we determined we did a factor of approximately 11 years is, about average. So that the supplement factor for one would be $2,000. And then what we did was we divided the amount of funds available by the amount of educators. So in each band, like band, for zero band, there's 246. We took that and multiplied the 0.25 of 2,000, which is 500, and that was our total. So that's how we determined the factor for each band to determine their individual supplement. Right?
Classic example of standard deviation.
You want to speak? Or add anything?
I mean, yeah, pretty much that. So this is based on total teaching experience. So private, public, I had all those columns up. And obviously this is based only on the data set that you sent from the May lesson.
So you included military experience, all that experience, or just teaching?
Just instruction, whatever's in the instructional experience category.
Okay,
Whatever, we like, you had the columns of instructional, Florida, instructional, private,
Private.
instructional, out of state. Those columns I
Just
had.
only
Just
instructional.
instructional
okay.
experience,
Got it.
not any other experience, just instructional experience.
Understand.
And those were the number of employees, and moved all the duplicates, like, wait a second, we do not have this many teachers out there.
No.
And I got that, and I'm like, okay, I think that's about right, that makes more sense. And then
Correct, that's about right.
just play with the numbers, cause it seemed like our rough number was about 10 million is what we kind of were expecting based on the 25% of the millage, which based on Scott's quick math seems like we're
And
pretty close.
we took out some for the fringe benefits, that's why it only does 6.6 million.
And this is just the 80%.
So, and that's my question, because I'll make sure I hear it understanding, so. Your spreadsheet. That's total cost including fringe,
No,
No,
That's without.
because you're gonna.
to that,
I know you didn't have the $9 million number.
No, we didn't.
No,
We're trying to get something close that could be some example.
the old French rate is 22.29%. I don't know what the new one is yet. That's gonna be determined soon enough, but it will obviously be a little bit higher than that. So if you take that 6.8 million, multiply or add 22.29, that will give you an estimated cost with French rate.
So we can adjust and play with this as needed to make it work.
I understand. I just wanted you to have that information.
And then just to be clear, so this calculation will get done every year. But an overall MOU would cover the 4-year period, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So.
I'm following so far.
Okay, are you all ready for us to go on to number 5?
And yes, I'm gonna identify, they're ready to go. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so for eligible employees, they must be current full-time active employees who are newly hired or returning to employment. The employees must have been employed by the district for a minimum of 45 days to be eligible for the payment. Employees who are returning from unpaid leave or who are newly hired and begin work after the start of their contractual year will receive a prorated share of the annual supplement. The parties agreed to address concerns over eligibility on a case-by-case basis should the need arise. So I think that might answer your question, we know that you had earlier.
Yeah, there might be other scenarios that come up because I have to be with staff on different people for why they leave and come back and all that, so it's just scenarios like that we just need to address.
Right. Yes. 6, the party shall convene annually to review this agreement. So again, as Stephanie mentioned, every year we can look at the supplement factor. The parties agree to return to the table if the 1.0 millage generates less than or more than anticipated funding. Number 8, the parties shall meet each year. This agreement is in effect to review revenue, reports from the Citizen Oversight Committee, and determine any needed changes to the agreement within 30 days of the Citizens Oversight Committee meeting. Number 9, this agreement shall be included in appendix F, memorandum of understanding in the LCA LCS instruction. And then the last page. Some contingencies. So this agreement will only be valid provided that it is ratified by the bargaining unit employees and approved by the school board. We put in some numbers here, obviously they would be adjusted or we could modify this language. That says the millage projecting an approximate annual revenue of 40 million for Lake County Public Schools for a 4-year period of time. Is successfully passed in the November 2026 general election. That all compensation improvements provided through this millage referendum are non-reoccurring beyond the 2031 fiscal year. That the superintendent will establish a citizens oversight committee to monitor and report on the revenue and expenditures of the millage referendum funds. And LCA will have 2 of 10 seats on the committee, or at least 20% of the total seats. Funds generated from the millage referendum are intended to supplement employee-based salaries and are not intended to diminish or supplant any other funds available to increase employee wages each year. The agreement shall sunset at the end of the 2031 fiscal year unless the millage referendum is renewed by the voters of Lake County in a future election. In which case the parties will meet at a mutual agreeable time to negotiate updates to this agreement. And then the rest is just signatures. So any questions or points of discussion?
Right now, I don't have any. I need to reread it a couple of times and
Okay.
see if I have any. But I understand the intent, and if I have any, I know to reach out.
And for my team, do y'all feel like we addressed the amounts appropriately enough? Or do we need to add any points to the fact that we did the 500 amount?
I would just like to say this, if we did 500 for 0 years as a minimum, because we want to make sure that they're not paying more than what they're getting if they're, a Lake County resident. So if they're having to pay for this referendum, we want to make sure that they're benefiting from it and not paying more than what they could actually get.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So, just knowing the amount and knowing what the fringe rate, we just gotta make sure that
Yeah,
base,
it's gonna need to be adjusted.
it probably needs to be adjusted. It's just doing the math. That's all.
And based on those numbers with the friend, it's 8.4.
Yeah.
So it's still within it, so it should. That's all. Scott, do you have any questions?
No. Good.
Obviously, like I said earlier, I will have to bring this to the board and discuss with senior staff, and then we'll go from there.
Just one more thing, this part would actually be in the appendix of this with this. Right, so, okay, I gotta make sure.
Yeah. We typically, anyway, we put all the MOUs as part of a contract in an appendix, so
No, we
What
need
what you-
the appendix to the MOU.
that's
That
fine.
would be separate and adjusted every year.
Every year, correct, so we will just do an appendix, that's fine.
Yeah.
I understand.
All right. I think that's it for us, unless you have any remaining questions for Scott.
How soon will you know the French calculation for next year?
We're working on that now. It usually comes out in June. Or July, but I don't expect it to move much this year because there wasn't a lot of change in FRS. The only thing it'll change is the insurance company. But that usually doesn't impact these calculations because that's just salary. The insurance is already paid.
At least knowing that one, you'll know exactly what the ballpark right around there, so. Something to know. And I'll discuss also TSIA with the board. And that way we can quickly form a meeting so we can discuss that too, since we're probably gonna be on the clock as of.
Yeah.
So I wanna be able to come with an actual MOU now that I have this one to discuss with the board.
Sounds good. Would we possibly set some dates right now?
Sure, what tentative dates in July so that I can look at mine?
Do we want to meet any more in June, like the end of June, or?
Well,
Cause the goal was to have the MOU by the 15th, but I understand,
To be fair, I
Yeah.
have to first. I can't give you a date right now.
right?
Because I have to still take this to the board.
Okay.
And if I do have to call an executive session, I have to first figure out when are they available. They take vacation, so I'm just
Right.
being honest.
Okay.
The June 15, it's cutting it tight for me,
Yes.
aside that is my birthday.
Oh.
I have to figure that out with the board.
Get it?
So know that. And
Well, how about at least the end of June?
yeah, no, I'm gonna try to do something, at least. We can schedule us to have a meeting and I'll try to see what I can do in between it. So I was looking at. The June 22nd through the 26th
Okay,
and see between now and then, I'll let you know if I can move forward with the meeting.
okay,
After I speak to the superintendent and see what I can do.
okay.
And what are the 24th? Unless you wanna do it any days, it's summer, so it doesn't have to be a Wednesday, it could be a Monday, Tuesday, I'm
Monday
open.
would work for Jessica and I don't.
Well, Monday we have the board meeting, that's the only thing, so.
So
we
you
have-
might have your executive session then?
Correct, so I'd rather, I'd rather do it either Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday.
Can we do Wednesday morning?
Yes, I'm available. So everybody else, I know, I know some-
10:15, good,
anytime what?
after 10:15,
So you wanna make it 10:30?
perfect. Does that work for y'all?
Okay, tentatively, we'll put that on the calendar and I will confirm with you. And hopefully by next week, okay? Just give me a little bit of time so that I can confirm the date. Cause if I can't do anything, it might be that I need to move the date,
And that will be at LCA?
if that's what you prefer, yes. Yeah. We typically do one here and one in CS, so I don't have an issue if we need to go over there.
Okay, and then how about some dates in July?
Let me first confirm this one,
Okay,
and then we'll go through July. The July will have to be after the week of the fourth, like wait. Let's do one in July, let's do one for now so that we can, how about the week of the 6th through the 10th?
we are not available that week. But we could do it the week before or the week after.
In the week before. Um. July 1st will be one, but it all depends if I need a meeting that day. If I'm able to have the meeting on the 24th.
We can do July 1st.
I don't think I'll be able to. Yeah, I don't have it, I don't, yeah, can we, you're not available the 6th to the 10th, for me to have a meeting on that week after we have just a. A meeting on the week before, to me, I don't think I have enough turnaround for that, so. We can put it tentatively so that we can continue discussions, but just put it tentatively for that day on July 1st. And when I confirm with you next week or for the 24th, I'll be able to confirm if I'll be able to have something by the 1st. Cause if I'm
Can we
in,
do afternoon that day, like anytime after, like, noon,
that's fine. What time?
how about 12:30?
That's good. How about 1? Let's just do 1.
Okay,
And that's tentative also. So let me just confirm with you dates next week. So right now we have the 24th. And the 1st, just a week back to back. The 1st probably would be good if I were to bring something with the TSIA so that
yes,
if I don't have it ready by the 24th.
right. So
And-
I'm thinking if the 24th is focused on the referendum, at least the first week.
TSIA and all that, but I'm gonna try my best to see what I can do before the 24th.
Oh.
Don't promise anything, so,
Well, I appreciate your effort to try to move this along,
okay,
what I need to say.
okay. Is there anything else?
I think that's cool.
Alright, well. It is now, what time is it? It is 10:53, and this concludes our first meeting on bargaining for the 26-27 school year. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Scott, for sitting around.